My wife and I have a 2-year-old son and have been married for 4 years. Our anniversary was a month ago, and we found a nice, secluded cabin on Airbnb and rented it out for a long weekend getaway. My wife asked her parents if they would be willing to watch our son, and they agreed as long as we dropped him off at their house. That worked for us since it was on our way anyway. I was raised Lutheran and my wife was raised Catholic, but neither of us currently go to church and have not had our son baptized. My mother-in-law knows this and hates it. She thinks our son needs to be baptized or he will burn in hell. She's that kind of Catholic. So, we go on our trip, and when we pick up our son and ask how the weekend went, mother-in-law says everything went fine and that she has saved my son's soul from the devil. I ask her what she meant, and she says she had our son baptized that morning at her church. I tried my best to keep my cool, so I didn't scream at mother-in-law in front of my son, but I pretty much grabbed my son and left. On the car ride home I was fuming and told my wife as calmly as I could that this would be the last time her parents have our son unsupervised. She tried to downplay what her mom had done, but I told her we need to wait until we get home to talk about it because I'm not fighting in front of my kid. When we got home and had a chance to talk about it, things got heated. I told my wife I no longer trust her parents with our son and that if they did something like this behind our backs I can't trust them to respect our wishes as parents in the future. I said this was a huge breach of trust and I will forever look to her mom differently. She continued to try to defend her mom saying that she was only doing what she thought was best for her grandson. She even downplayed it by saying that it's just a little water and a few words and we don't go to church anyway, so what does it matter? I told her that under no circumstances will I allow her parents to watch our son by themselves again. I said that we can still let them see their grandson, but only if we are present. I also said that if she doesn't see what the big deal is with the situation, that maybe we aren't on the same page as parents and maybe we need to see a counselor. She started crying and said that this isn't the kind of decision I get to make on my own and I'm an idiot for trying to tell her what kind of relationship her parents can have with our son. I told her that I no longer have any trust or respect for her parents and that I don't know if there's anything they can do to repair that. I told her I don't care if that makes me an idiot, but what her parents did was unforgivable in my eyes and they put themselves in this position to lose privileges with our son. She's been trying to convince me to change my mind for the last month, but I'm not budging. To me this is a hill I'm willing to die on. Not the idiot. That was a huge breach of trust. Nothing religious should be done unilaterally either by the parents, or in this case, grandparents. I do agree that counseling would be a good avenue for you both to get on the same page. Also apparently you're in a hole for telling her that her parents can no longer see your son unsupervised, but they aren't idiots for the unauthorized baptism. What? Dear wife. Letting her get away with something because she thought it was best for her grandson leads to a slippery slope. What if your mom decides it is best for your son to live with her during the week and you and your husband only see him on the weekends? Are you going to let her get away with that? It isn't her kid. She doesn't get to decide what's best, only his parents do. On the one hand, your son is 2, so he likely won't remember or understand what happened. This isn't like the post yesterday, where the mother-in-law told an 8-year-old that she would burn in hell if she didn't accept Jesus and let herself be baptized. On the other hand, there's nothing saying your mother-in-law won't partake in that kind of behavior when your son is older. Go get the counseling. There is a lot in this post, and it would be impossible to tell if writing off the grandparents is appropriate or not, or worth destroying your marriage over. My son started 2nd grade last week. I get the kids ready for school while my wife sleeps. She's got a graveyard shift. He's got a twin sister. I told them both it was time to get ready for school, and his twin sister pulled a bunch of dresses out of her closet. My son picked one up and said, "I want to wear this." I'm thinking, whatever dude, we're running late, just put some kind of clothes on and let's get out the door. I'm pretty politically neutral, so, well, I wouldn't say I was particularly happy he wanted to wear a dress. It also wasn't nearly as upsetting to me as the idea that I could be late for work if we didn't get out the door. I figured okay, I wouldn't ever tell my daughter not to do something because it wasn't ladylike, so I shouldn't tell my son not to do something because it isn't manly. I drop him off and get to work. 3 hours later we get a call to come pick up our son because his outfit is distracting to the other kids and he's being bullied. He was very sad when my wife got there and the whole morning had been upsetting for him. My wife is irate asking how I couldn't have realized that was inappropriate and I was setting our son up to fail. So is just about everyone else I've run this by. My wife thinks damage has been permanently done because he'll be in the same school system as these kids the rest of his life and he'll be known as the one who wore a dress and I was being thoughtless or willfully ignorant because I was in a rush and our son suffered for it. At the time, I truly didn't think it was that big a deal, but that doesn't change that I put my son in harm's way, so now I'm not sure whether I made the wrong decision or not or how to feel about it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It frustrates me that your son was singled out as the problem instead of the children doing the bullying. The teacher, school, whomever was in charge could have taken a moment to reinforce the idea if you don't have anything nice to say. Until he's old enough to understand the potential social ramifications and decide whether he's up for the challenge, or until kids stop bullying others over stuff that's odd to them, you decide to take your kids out of harm's way, and then you do it. You inadvertently made a social or political statement at your son's expense. Not the idiot. What a refreshing take on parenthood. It seems today, so many people are set on telling women they can be anything but men still have to be men and act traditionally manly. You did what your son asked, and I think that makes you a pretty great parent. Good on you, OP. You're the idiot. You didn't have any type of discussion with your child about what could happen, you just let him because you were busy. That makes you the idiot. My 19-year-old daughter Vanessa called me this morning and told that her girlfriend proposed to her and wants her to move to her apartment. Now for context, my daughter met this woman online and they've don't ever see each other besides a few quick weekend visits. Moreover, they've only dated for a little more than a year. I told her I was happy for her, but then politely expressed my reservations. But I maintained that she was an adult and that it was ultimately her decision. The problem lies when Vanessa asked me for money. You see, when her older brother moved out and went to college, I decided to give him a little $500 a month stipend so he doesn't have to worry about food. He managed to get a scholarship to cover the rest of his educational costs, so it was just the small expected parent contribution and his living expenses. That combined with the money he saved during the summers made it so he didn't have to work at all during the school year. Since I gave him $500 a month every month his university was in session, that amounted to around $16,000. I told Vanessa that I was going to do the same when she moves out and goes to school. She now says that she's moving out and that college was on the back burner for her. Her girlfriend will support them, she is 23, already graduated, and works in it. She said that now she's not going to school, she'd rather just take a lump sum or give her $500 a month too and just not get anything if she goes to school. I told her I cannot stop her from moving, but that money is for supporting her education only. If she realizes that this is a mistake and decides to go to school, or even if she decides to go to school when she's married, I'll be happy to contribute the money. But it's not just a free handout. She's got really mad that I rejected her and accused me of favoring her brother. To her credit, her brother and I have a closer relationship. He's always been the studious rule follower, while Vanessa was more the troublemaker, but I do love my children equally. I told her at the end of the day that it was an educational stipend. If she feels like she has the independence to move out to her fiancé, then she has the independence to get a job and work for her own money. That if she ever wants to go school at any point of her life, I will fully support it financially. Well, we argued back and forth before she angrily hung up on me and told my wife. My wife thinks that we should give her something, but I told her that my thinking is that this relationship will fail and I rather keep the $15,000 as an emergency blanket for if and when she has to move back home. I don't want her to think I support this decision. She told me she sorta saw my point, but she's not going to help me unravel this mess with my Vanessa, she's staying out of it. I, on the other hand, think she's acting like a spoiled brat. Am I the idiot for sticking to my guns on this? Not the idiot for only wanting to give the money to help support her through college. You're the idiot for the way you talk about a relationship. You keep saying when the relationship fails, which is a pretty disrespectful way to phrase things. A year together before getting engaged is only slightly shorter than average. Not the idiot, and your reasoning is sound. You are not refusing to give your daughter the same amount of money, you are merely not giving it to her without enforcing the same stipulations that the same amount of money was given to your son under. It's not like you just said, here's $15K son, there was a parental reason for the charity, and there was a distinct need that it was given to fulfill. I think it's fair for a father to be skeptical of his daughter getting engaged to someone they have been with for a year and only met a handful of times. Marriage is a big step in a relationship that seems to be minimized due to the amount that end in divorce. You are the idiot for the way you treat your daughter overall in this situation. You aren't actually happy for her. You don't actually support her. You're lying to her face, and you're being a jerk. If she's happy with her girlfriend, then be happy for her. My son has been seeing this lovely girl for about 4 months. They are both 16. Her parents have a litany of issues: super controlling, narcissistic mom and alcoholic dad. Generally, because she lives much closer to the school, my son goes over there occasionally after school, and I pick him up in the evening. I will also drive him there sometimes on weekends and pick him up when he's ready. The mom has all sorts of odd rules for my son when he's there, which is fine. It's her house. Most of the rules seem to be based around her daughter's chastity. He is allowed in her room, but not on the bed. Then, weeks later, he is allowed on the bed, but not under the covers. What the hell? And she will check on them quite regularly, making sure they are being proper. Not under the covers, the door open, etc. They also want him out before a certain time, which changes depending on. Sometimes it's 7:30, sometimes it's 9:30. Whatever. Regardless, she usually doesn't come to our house because her parents are so controlling. Well, today she came over for the first time. The night before, her mom called and wanted to talk to me. I am a correctional officer and was working that night, so I wasn't home to take the call. My son offers to let her to talk to my husband, who was home, but she only wanted to talk to me. Later on, her dad calls, and he talks to my husband. I don't have the details of the conversation, but basically, he wanted to make sure that there would be at least one parent home at all times, and that we would keep an eye on them at all times. My husband agreed. Thing is, we don't really care. I was sexually active at a younger age than them. My son and I have had lots of talks about consent and not being sexually pushy with people and respect and birth control, etc. He is a lovely boy, and I believe he would never push her to do anything she wasn't comfortable with. They have been sexually active with each other already. Teens will find a way. Anyway, not only did I not check on them constantly, I told him that as long as she was willing, I would give them as much privacy as they wanted, providing they were using protection. My husband and I actually had to go out for a couple of hours, and I asked a good friend who lives just down the street if she would cover for me if this girl's parents called or showed up and pretend to be my cousin. Parents did not have our exact address yet, so we would have had a warning about them showing up. Good friend laughed and agreed. Turns out it wasn't needed. Dad eventually came and picked her up. I absolutely stand by my opinion that my son can have privacy and agency over his own body at this age, but I am kind of wondering if I should have made that choice for someone else's child. I kind of feel guilty, but I think her parents are way over the top control freaks. Am I the idiot? You are making a lot of negative judgments about girlfriend's parents, narcissism, alcoholism, controlling, and positive ones about yourself, free and open with your son's sexuality. You didn't ask about this, but it's there. You obviously feel superior to her parents. That's okay, but it's clouding your judgment here. Pretend they are the awesomest, greatest parents alive who don't share your feelings on your son and their daughter having a sexual relationship. Now, with that in mind, can you see you are the idiot? Everyone sucks here. I mean, their rules are draconian, and I wouldn't want to have them as my parents, but I would really hate to entrust my kid to someone who not only lies to me about what my kid is doing, but does so with a sneer in my direction. Not the idiot. Helicopter parents are the worst. You did the right thing. You're the idiot. If you were unwilling to follow the rules set by her parents, she should not be at your house. You may disagree with the rules, but that is not your child. When she is 18, she is free to do as she wants, with all the adult responsibilities that entails. If someone entrusts their child to me, I follow that parent's rules.